Hey, folks, and welcome to the July 6th edition of Money and Politics. Great to have you. If you want to reach me by email, there's the address, moneyandpoliticsnow@gmail.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, whoops, I already had it, didn't I? Come on, bring it out. Money and Politics there. You can see it in the abbreviated form. Okay, and now I hope you all had a great 4th of July. I was thinking that maybe I would take a couple of days off and try to go somewhere, but it never fails that the time you ever try to take a day off or a couple of days off, that's when it gets busy. And what was supposed to be another week where it was, well, nothing much going on, all of a sudden I had to go to Chicago, then I had to go to Ottawa, Illinois, which I'd never been to before. Went to an interesting state park the other day that was a couple miles from Ottawa. Interesting place with an interesting history. And then back here and worked on Friday. I didn't have time to stop. I worked just solidly trying to get stuff done and still didn't get everything done. So good to be back with you, and I hope, as I say, that you had a good time with your family and friends on the 4th of July, which has always been one of my favorite. In fact, what was interesting is, if you don't mind me just a little bit, I've been in my current home for 18 years. This was the first time I've spent the 4th of July at my house. Because we normally go down to my brother's house, and I have a nice house, but he has an even bigger house, and we get the family comes together. So it was interesting because I didn't know this until the other night. I can see fireworks from my back gate, looking out over the fields, which is interesting. So I'm glad to be back with you, a bit more rested. I hope you are too. We can see that Humbl didn't do much of anything today. But you know what? Here's what I would say. It doesn't matter. Now, what is interesting, and what I'm going to talk to you about tonight, is that I just got off the phone right before I came to you tonight on the video, speaking to someone else from Humbl Nation who you wouldn't know, but he's part of the group that sent me the ideas that they wanted to say. I asked, what's your favorite stock outside of Humbl? And he said, and I think I've already shared this with you, I know I have, Zynex. And so we talked a bit about that. But as I said, he is part of Humbl. By the way, he thinks Zynex, and he is not your average investor. I've put a lot of credence into what he says. But he thinks Zynex, let's just say, is going to go up significantly over the next 2 years. Okay, he wants to protect his identity in his profession. So I'm being careful not to say anything that would help identify him, but he's somebody that, because of his profession, and he's not connected to the company, but knows what he's talking about. So no one can tell the future, but he thinks Zynex will go up significantly over the next couple of years. And then we also spoke about Humbl. And I wanted to share with you, and I won't go too long tonight, I know I say that every night, but I wanted to share with you 3 things that he and I talked about. One thing is, why is he so excited about Humbl? And, you know, it's for one thing to hear me say it again and again, but this is why I wanted to share with you some of what he's saying. And again, he has, let's just say, a business background. So he's not just someone who gets excited about low price stocks. He said one of the things is the management team is one of the reasons he really likes Humbl, and that when he's looking at any company, and this makes a lot of sense, he looks at the management team. And if the management team isn't any good, then the company's not going to be good. And I don't know if you follow baseball. I know some of you are around the world, but it's just like a baseball team. Baseball is a good idea. Baseball can be very fun, but if your management's not good, if your talent on your team isn't good, they're not gonna be very good. That's the same in business. So he said, look, the management team here are a bunch of pros, and they wouldn't work for a startup because they don't need to. They wouldn't work for a startup unless they thought that this was going to be a much bigger payoff for them in time than if they worked somewhere else, given their resumes, that might be paying them more money in the short run. So yeah, maybe they, let's just say they could go and work and make $100,000 more in salary, or $200,000 more. But given their stocks, their equity positions they're getting, they wouldn't be working here unless they thought the company is going to be growing, and then their payoff will be significantly more for them as well as us, which is a good thing because that means the people running the company, they're in the same boat as we are, and even more so. They've got a lot more at stake than we do. I've said that in the past, but it bears repeating. The other thing that he said is what's interesting, and we talked about tickets and tickery. And I said, which my friend agreed with me, I said, while we have peer-to-peer being developed, and that's going to be incredible, and how we can pay whomever, business, friends, etc., how users of the app in time will be able to send money back to their homeland, wherever that is, and move money around the world. And Brian talked about this, and how many countries around the world are using paper currency instead of digital transactions. And Humbl is going to be a big part of that. But the other thing I said is that's taken time to get the peer-to-peer, as we know. So I think Brian is focused, as he said he was, on tickets because I thought that, number one, that's kind of faster money. It's the low-hanging fruit where he can focus and bring in more cash faster. But my friend said what's interesting is he thought it also meant that Humbl and the tickets both apply to the youth culture. And you're going to be going to concerts, the music, the bands. It's not going to be a bunch of people like my age typically. It's probably going to be the youth. And so they're going to be, buying their tickets, and that those tickets, as my friend said, is just one key to using the app. And that, again, is a way to bring in quick money through ticketing, but also, buying whatever we have available to be bought off of the app, whether it's a Humbl t-shirts or whatever, or going to the marketplace. So that's the second thing I wanted. I thought I hadn't really put that together, but he's right. It's like when someone says something and it's right when you hear it. And then the third thing is, we talked a bit about the B shares, and I wanted to hear what he said because that's been such a point of consternation with a lot of people. And what he said, which I would agree with this, that the B shares in his mind are not going to be diluting, and we already know what Brian's doing. He's got 45% of the shares, and he's not going to be doing anything through 2022. And however, the B shares, my friend said, are keys to, I did that wrong. The B shares are key to build and buy strategy. What did Brian and Humbl do? What did they do? They bought Tickery, right? Then they got Monster, and the company I can never remember. They did a deal down in Chile. Aurora. I think I'm saying it wrong. It means gold. I know, but the point is, we know that this is true. And what did Brian say just the other day? That he wants to be looking to buy another ticketing company. So what's he going to? How is he going to pay for this? Those shares. The B shares are the currency for purchasing, and that the B shares are key to build and buy strategy. They're building. They're building their stuff. They're building the company, but they're also growing through purchasing. And I said before, I know you can't remember everything I've said over the last 6 months. Cisco was buying companies left and right. When I got them and I made my money in Cisco and they grew so much, over from 93 to 98, that 5-year period, they just exploded in growth. And one of the reasons, because they weren't, we use these terms that I don't like when we use jargon, but in case you hear other people saying that, organic growth. I don't like the term. Why don't we just say Cisco was not growing, and Humbl will not either. They will not be growing just on what they can do internally. That's the term organic growth. But they're going to be growing on the companies they can buy and bring in under the Humbl umbrella, as they did, as I said, with Tickery. Now they're Monster, and they're looking to buy another ticketing company. So the B shares are going to be key to that build and buy strategy of growing the company, where wealth, the company's wealth, I should say, where 1 + 1 = 3. Now, what does that mean? When I was in the printing business and I bought a piece of equipment, and I would do this repeatedly myself, something that used to take me 5 hours, let's say, to do something. When I upgraded my equipment, I could do what I was doing in 5 hours. I could do it in, let's say, 2.5 hours. And so whatever I was charging the customer on a repeat order, I could say, hey, here's the good news. I'm going to charge you the same thing. No inflation. The price is the same. Oh, that's great. The customer's happy, right? But I'm also happy because I had saved my money to make myself more efficient. And because I could do that same job in half the time, I made more money. So that's where 1 + 1 = 3. It's not just that incremental growth. And the other thing, when you're buying companies and you're bringing them in, that's 1 + 1 = 3. You're going to be growing at a much faster rate. So those are the three things, folks. Ticketing is part of the youth culture. We've got a management team that's a bunch of pros who wouldn't be working for a startup. And these B shares are not going to be going into diluting the earnings. Yes, it depends how you look at it. But if you're buying companies that are going to be growing you at a much faster rate, that's going to be moving the stock price down the road at a much faster rate. And so my friend, I thought, made a convincing case on that. And I wanted to share that with you, as well as the fact that, apologizing a bit because I was sorry I didn't get to you on Friday, but I was just snowed under, and I figured all of us needed the day off last night. So I think we are going to have, by the way, my friend also said one last thing, which I had said to you the other day, that, we've been kind of treading water with the stock price and all for a while, as you well know. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to take a number of more months, but then we are going to, in my estimation, and my friend agreed with this, we're going to catch fire, and then we're going to start to grow at a much faster pace. So right now, the two stocks, of course, you're there with Humbl, and the other one that we talked about, and again, I've talked about it on tape, Zynex. This was, by the way, I was taking some notes. Zynex, it went from the OTC to the NASDAQ in February of 2019, February 12 of 2019. And at the time, it was, let me see if I can go to a 5-year chart. It was about $3.75. Let's see if we got that's 17 January. So it went around here. So it was around $3.75, somewhere in that area. And you can see the growth that we've had from that point where it went up. It was $6 or so. Then it kind of treaded water for a bit. And he thinks that this might be very solid reasons for a breakout, price breakout on Zynex. Also, there's going to be some other coverage I will be doing on this in the weeks ahead, which is one reason why I was talking to my friend. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention because the reason you're here, the reason I'm here is I want to share with you what I know and what I learn from others. The reason you're here is you want to invest to make some money, and I want you to make money. So it's not talking just about one company. It's about talking about some of the information. It's about talking about some of the stocks that we think are going to be growing pretty quickly. So that all said, I'm going to say good night and hope that you, again, had a great 4th of July. I love this country. I know many of you are around the world. I hope you love America as well. I hope you will share in our prosperity as our markets grow and your markets grow, because that's what it's all about. We want everyone to get ahead. With that, folks, have a wonderful evening, and I plan on seeing you tomorrow night, God willing. Until then, take care.